I'm now glad to be speaking to Eric Thwaits from SOBS, who deals with people who have mental health issues, has running a charity which gets a lot of emails, calls, walk-ins from people who suffer from mental health issues. Hi, Eric. Welcome to the show.
Morning. Thank you for inviting me along to talk about SOBS today.
My pleasure. Tell us a bit about what SOBS is and what you do.
The charity's been providing support service now for just 30 years this year. It all started up in Hull, where our founder, Alice Middleton, she lost her brother to suicide, I think 2 years prior to starting the charity. Didn't find any support anywhere, knowing that the turmoil and the journey that suicide creates for individuals is such dramatic, and it impacts on them and their life for life, really, because of the not knowing why someone would take their own life. It's something that we're passionate about at SOBS. All our support groups, we currently have 56 support groups now, and every one of them support groups are run by a survivor, a person who's lost someone to suicide. The staff in the office are non-survivors because we feel that in some instances suicide is difficult enough to deal with. So we tend to employ people, not in any respect that it's wrong to not employ a person who's bereaved by suicide, but we think that dealing with it within the office staff, it's difficult enough, but to put someone in that place who's been affected by suicide, it may bring back too many memories for them, and it may impact on them even greater.
Eric, in our home countries, or countries where we originate from, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, suicide is quite a common thing. You've probably done your research and aware of that. Even when people first started migrating here, there were plenty of cases of suicide, and but we never hear about it. We're never told. There's no support, like you said, especially in the Asian community. In fact, it's seen as a sign of weakness. People look down upon it. People are like, oh, they're looking for someone to blame. And usually someone in the family. If a husband commits suicide, oh, the wife's to blame. If a wife commits suicide, the husband's to blame. So, it's not something that we do talk about. Explain to us the state that people are in when they actually pick up the phone and talk to you and decide to call you. And also, secondly onto that, how can we encourage more people to say, look, just don't keep this in, and to actually pick up the phone to people like yourselves and talk about the issues?
All that what you've just explained is normal. People do look for something to blame. When we first have contact from a new survivor, the view is that the survivor is numb. They're in a place of nowhere. They don't know how to deal with it. They're in a very dark place themselves. They're probably on the border or the edge of considering or contemplating taking their own life themselves, because they've lost someone dear to them, and it's hurt and impacted on them so deeply that they don't really want to be here anymore. These are just a few normal feelings, and there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of sadness. There's so many emotions around the suicide loss, and it's just the not knowing why that person took their life. We reflect on suicide as being it's an illness. It's nothing more than an illness, suicide. But if we recognise the symptoms of suicide, we'd be able to prevent a lot more. And one of the best ways of recognising symptoms is having people talk to you, because they may feel more comfortable talking to someone who's had a loss to suicide, because they've been through it and they know how it's impacted on the other side of the family. So these are just a few things that we can recognise ourselves.
And are you seeing more and more people in the Asian community picking up the phone, or are they still at large? Is they still not willing to talk to you about about their problems?
I think there's still the stigma that's attached to it in the Asian community. We do get contact from the Asian community, but not a great deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And why Why do you think that is, and how can we encourage people to pick up the phone? I mean, how would someone like yourself go out into the community, or how does someone like you tell me to go out into the community and tell people, like we're doing via this program, look, pick up the phone, talk to someone, you're not alone.
Yeah, I think one of the main things is that suicide recognises no ethnic or cultural boundaries.
Yeah.
Neither do we, and it's getting that message over to people that we are here to help and support as best we can. If I think one of the best messages that you can get over to the community is to actually maybe get someone from the Asian community to tell their story of how it's impacted on their loss. And that is a powerful tool. And that's where the peer support groups come in, because the information that's shared in the groups, it stays in the groups, it's confidential, it stays with the group. And I think it's the way that people support each other and help each other that we need to get that message out there. It needs to be driven really by the Asian community, as well as us helping and assisting.
And I think the message we also got to get out is, look, it's okay, to talk to someone. It's not a sign of weakness. Everyone needs to talk to someone. It's what a sign of weakness is thinking you can handle it all, and then allowing it to impact your family negatively and your day negatively, when you can just get it out of your system, talk to someone, and get the support available. But yeah, like I said, it's a slow process. The hardest thing to change in life, I always say, is a community's mindset. Once they're set on something, it's really hard to change it. But I'm glad to see that you're making inroads to changing that. And even though it's a slow process, hopefully shows like this and can help accelerate that process and help get you out there in the Asian community and get you more volunteers and survivors who can actually go out there and make a difference.
Fantastic.
So, thank you very much, Eric, and it was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, Harjap. Thank you. Pleasure being here.